The Sankey Sliding Center in Sochi, Russia. Winter has arrived this afternoon with a vengeance as we get ready for the final heat of the 2012-13 competition. It is the last run of the Viessmann FIBT 4-man bobsleigh World Cup. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haben. Sitting alongside me in the booth here trackside at this Olympic venue is John Morgan. And John, what a facility the Russians have laid on for next year's Winter Games.
There's Alexander Zubkov, one of the athletes that's favored to win the competition today. Manuel Mahata from Germany, and everybody's been impressed, like we've talked about already. The crowd has come out. They're underneath the roof. I mean, it's snowing outside, very, very hard and wet, but first heat highlights, Martin, were pretty impressive. You have Kasanov from Russia, who, as expected, would be in the top 5 or 6, but one thing I was impressed with him, he had a great start time, so he's in a position of 4th place.
Well, Kasanov, 23 hundredths of a second off the lead, and John, with so little knowledge of this track, even really for the Russians, it's entirely possible he could end up among the medals again.
He's in a position to he can move up to get a medal, and the guy he's going to be chasing is that start monster, Oscar Melbardis, and teammates that just blew away the start record. It's so impressive. 481 start record. 4 huge men, and this guy, it's unbelievable what Latvia does with bringing the best athletes in the country into the sport of bobsledding. He's just figuring out how to drive these sleds, and when he learns how to drive, I don't know if anybody will touch him, because he's got the start time, they got the good equipment. He's one of my favorites for medals next year here in Sochi.
The lying third here, just 14 hundredths off the lead. In front of him, though, Alexander Zubkov, certainly the crowd favorite and will be next year. And the Russian has already won 5 gold medals this season.
But the Russians they've only won 1 medal in this weekend competition of men's skeleton, and a lot of pressure on Zubkov. I think he's got a chance to move up because he went 7th in the run to the leader who went 1st, and the ice really deteriorates here.
Well, just 7 hundredths of a second separate our top 2, and it is the man who was very first on the ice this afternoon that will go down last in the race, because he is our leader. He set the track record. Thomas Florschutz just drove impeccably.
Yeah, good starts, or not a great start time. Only the 13th best start time of the run, but boy, does his FES sled Berlin running fast. 2nd place in the 2-man event. So he's had a good weekend.
He has had a good weekend indeed. Hasn't won a 4-man race this season. Only 3 men have. Max Arndt, who's not here, Alexander Zubkov, who is lying in 2nd place, and Bert Hefty, who's in 8th. He's not got a chance to win here, but that top 4, 5, 6, we could see a lot of changes there. And do you know what? Maybe even down to Manuel Mahata, a chance to move up. There's only a few hundredths between those sleds.
Holcomb in 11th place. Holcomb made a big driving error, exit of 2, exit of 5. Really put himself in that 11th position with driver's mistakes, uncharacteristic from the Olympic champion.
He tripped over every obstacle there was on the track, didn't he? Made all the mistakes. Justin Cripps in 20th place is the last slider who will go through into this 2nd run. The rest, from Milan Januszak of Slovakia on down, will join the rest of us trackside as spectators. We can see so many track workers and helpers.
Very steep, but the key is the steepness and the speed is taken away by the 3 uphill sections. The track's got a very similar start to Park City. Athletes didn't get out, and the start is as important as it is any place. Melbardis set the record in the first run. In and down here by this first curve, and you got to be quiet up here like you do on any track. Let the sled accelerate. Curve 2, curve 3. The first real pivotal part of the track, I call the graveyard of time, is this curve 5 coming up right here. The exit of curve 5. This is where Holcomb made a big mistake, and a lot of other people into 6. Watch how this big sweeping left here, quick, and shoot downhill. Couple oscillation points. 7, 8. Speed gets into about 75 miles an hour here, and now you got a first of a couple uphill sections, a big pressure point there in that curve. There's the first uphill down. It's like almost like a jump there. And real tricky, real demanding. Another uphill section here in the finish, and the athletes say they could feel that one. The other 2 aren't as negative G's as the athletes feel. And now into the finish. Boy, real easy track to get down, but boy, is it a tough track to get down fast, and boy, did we see that in the first heat.
Yes, we did. We saw crashes in training. We saw a crash in the 2-man race yesterday as well. And the athletes here, this is part of the start facility. 3 stories up is this running track, a 100-meter track, and 3 stories back down below are the sleds. Well, the air temperature is kind of irrelevant because the track is enclosed. It's snowing out, but it won't make any difference. Light snow here will have no effect. The track covered for every single inch of its way. But the ice, well, the ice crews, John, are learning their business as well. So the ice is definitely not the sort of stand that we'll expect to see for the Winter Games in a year's time once they've got some experience under their belts.
I bet you some ice might just come in from the other tracks for next year, and they won't see this type of ice next year at the Olympics. Again, everybody's new. The track's new. The crowd's new. Everybody is learning this facility besides the commentators and the athletes. But it is a spectacular facility.
It certainly is. Well, we're getting ready to get our sleds on the ice. 26 started the first heat from 14 different nations, and the fast 20 go through into the second heat here. The last slides of the season for these guys, pretty much, certainly in competition. Well, lots of keen Russian fans. The town of Sochi, not too far away. Justin Cripps of Canada will start the second run. He was 20th in Heat 1. We go last to fast, and so it will be our race leader, Thomas Florschutz, who will go last. And, John, one factor to bear in mind is that we saw the track surface deteriorate and get slower throughout the first run, which means, like in downhill, as the course cuts up, the leader goes last. He will have a small margin, but it will have to be worked hard to make it into a victory margin.
We saw the women's bobsled race. We saw it in the skeleton races and the two-man. It comes back to equal. The last 6-8 sleds, it's a very fair competition for everybody. And the most important thing we've seen so far this week are the best people are winning.
Yeah. Well, again, experience and talent pays, and it is an even playing field because nobody's really got much information about this track. And again, the more you know, the better you get. You see athletes there at the top of the track watching Eric Nielsen, Johnny Fairburn, the Canadian skeleton sliders, all still in town. Everybody's leaving in mass evacuation tomorrow morning.
Charter, they got a big charter going over to Munich with about 2/3 of the athletes on it.
Let us get this final run of the season underway. Justin Cripps, Canada 3, with Tim Randall, James McNaughton, Graham Rinholm behind him. Cripps, born in Hawaii, now lives in Canada.
Cripps has had a great season. He was on the back of Lyndon Rush's sled in the 2010 Olympic Games, and he made the transition to front seat as a driver, and he's been improving every single weekend. He's had some ups and downs, which you expect, but this young athlete has got some talent, and boy, was he impressive yesterday in the two-man competition with his start time.
Yeah.
Oh, skid there. There's 5. That pivotal part of the track. 6. Drop off quickly. No mistakes up here. These big 4-man sleds, they go a little straighter than the 2-mans. 2-man's more like a sports car, but when you get this 4-man in trouble, then it has a mind of its own, and it goes in directions that you can't control. Skidding there. He won't be the last guy. We skid him that straightaway, and boy, in the uphill section, that's not how to do it.
Well, that's a shame because he had 2 kilometers better speed than on the last trip. That's still quick.
It's good to see the first sled down make the biggest mistake you can make in the biggest uphill section on the track. You just can't do it. That's the personality of the track. That is the biggest graveyard of time you're going to find any place on any track in the world, and that's what makes this track so interesting. Here it is. Down. Look, he's late from 13. Bang. And this is all uphill. Look how hard he hit. The push bar came out. Look at these great pictures from the back. The right runner, a little uphill. I mean, he struggled through there. Look at the airborne going into the curve. And then he dropped down. It's like a jump.
Yeah,
it's like a jump there. Their season's complete. Congratulations, Team Cripps. You guys did great.
Great rookie season for Justin Cripps. He can only get stronger. Jan Verber, the Czech Republic, 19th after the first heat. In front of him, Canada's Lyndon Rush, just 600ths separating these 2 sleds. So that is his first target. Martin Bowman, Jan Stoklaska, Michal Vacek are the crew of this Czech Republic sled.
'21st ranked start in the first run. The start's one thing. Watch them get in, get down. The speed coming up here on the left. 49 and change. 49.5. That's not bad speed considering the start.
Well, they started 0.05 of a second better than their first heat.
Yeah, and Libra he's had a pretty good year. Almost medaled in Altenburg. Pretty good world championships, I think 11th or 12th. So this athlete been coming on.
Now he's behind at the moment. When we get to 14-15, where Cripps had all his problems, let's see if he comes back into the green. He has already.
Yeah, and the uphill section coming up here too. If he comes straight through right after this, watch this uphill section coming up.
12 and 13, that's straight away. This is corner 14, climbing hard into 15.
That is some pivotal part of the track.
Yes, it is. 1,700 up. This is a nice looking drive. 1:32.8, very good speed.
Yeah, considering he got beat at the start by those Canadians right there, that's a good drive down the track, and the Czechs will take that.
See his time, 56.81 in the first heat. He did 56.80, so the track is holding up still. Of course, every one of these 900-kilo sleds that goes down degrades it a little further.
He also might have had a bad first run and a good second run, too. But we're going to find that out. Here's 6. Now watch the sled climb up near the wood here. This is something you're going to see a lot. This won't be the last guy that gets up there, and I bet you if we go down there in the piece of wood, there's going to be some paint down there.
Yeah.
That's a pivotal part of the track, and this is just, sets you up. Look at the runners. Look at the aerodynamics of the helmets.
There is Jan Verber, looks happy with that run, takes the lead from Justin Cripps. Next up, Lyndon Rush, our two-man World Cup champion. He won the Crystal Globe, was presented with it yesterday for the best two-man performances of the season. Jesse Lumsden, the Sellers Brown, and Neville Wright on the back of Lyndon Rush's sled. Still just 31, Lyndon.
They didn't have a very good first run. They shouldn't be back in 18th place. They had the 20th best start time. Very uncharacteristic on this team. 4.88. In the first run, they had 4.98. Speed, 50.1 kilometers. They were down low 49, so they had a problem in the first run at the start. And Lyndon Rush didn't drive very well. He has a perfect run here. He could live in that leader's box for 4 or 5 sleds. Oh, there's curve 5, exit. He didn't get out of there clean.
He was 18th after the first heat. If he'd been a 10th of a second quicker, he'd have been on the top 10.
Quarter of a second lead. He needs to bring this out to 35 or 40 hundredths at the bottom. The speed's good. Big transition there. Hard transition. Skidding in that straightaway. Corrected well into the...
Ooh, ugly. That's where the sled loses pressure and breaks away. Still nearly a quarter second up. 1:31.9, better speed than his last run as well. 1700s.
That skid in that graveyard going into 14, that uphill section, that just did him in. He should have accelerated away 26 to 40 hundredths out, and he dropped back to only 17 hundredths. That'll be tough for him to move up a number of spots. This Canadian should not be back in 18th place. And look at this. Pictures of unbelievable pictures. You don't see 4-man sleds doing that on most of these tracks. Look at it from behind. That's not the way you want to be approaching a curve at 75 miles an hour.
That in motorcycle racing is called backing it in.
What great pictures.
That was ugly. Well, Lyndon Rush, top half much improved, bottom half same problems, I'm afraid, robbed him of speed. He leads as Simone Bertazzo of Italy comes to the ice. Simone Fontano, Constantino Ughi and Francesco Costa are the crew, behind 30-year-old Carabinieri, Italian policeman Simone Bertazzo. Bertazzo gives the track one last long, mistrustful look. What have you got in store for us this time?
Look at all the holes in his push bar. That's to get the weight out of the sled. Shouldn't be a weight problem because the 4 guys are not the biggest guys on tour. Speed, 49.8 kilometer speed. I'd rather look at that than the start time because that really gives you all the energy. You're going to see 50.3, 50.4 from the top sleds. And that not only is how you get in the sled or push the sled, it's how you get in and get down before that first curve. This is a very experienced driver.
Decent exit out of 5, 800ths of a second behind Lyndon Rush of Canada.
He could find that 800s with good drive lines. Bertazzo, bronze medalist in the World Championships in 2007. Since then, we have not seen a lot out of him. He won a couple events in Cesana on his home track. Struggling, though, in the uphill section.
Still 800s.
Oh, is that a one? He's got the speed, too.
Now he has not made the mistakes that we saw from Lyndon Rush, so he will move into the lead at the line, not by much, but by enough.
He did not make the mistakes in that uphill section like Rush did. He got rewarded, and that's why he's at the bottom in the leader's box.
Top half of Lyndon Rush's lead run looked like a leading run. The second half didn't, and Simone Bertazzo sneaks in front with the Italian sled.
Look at the transition on the curves. Helmets lined up. Here's the 3 oscillations here. Goes down, comes back up. You almost take this curve 3 different times. Look at the way the heads are going back and forth. That's the G-force, the pressure points. They got great helmets.
Yes, they do. Well, next up is the Dutch team, Edwin van Kalker, Jeroen Pik, Simon Jansma and Yannick Greiner. Total height must be, I don't know, getting on to what?
It's average height.
Nearly 50 feet of athlete.
It's about 6'5" each guy. It's you know, the Dutch are the tallest population on the planet. The cohesion of a 4-man bobsled start. Little choreography on ice, we like to say. Watch the arms come up and down. That's a mistake. They wavered. 492 speed, 49.6. They should have been up 49.8, 49.9. That tenth of a kilometer doesn't sound like much, but in a sport with hundreds of seconds, it's a lot.
Yes, it is.
And Van Kalker, we talked about, he had a great run in the first run, but he came down so late, the ice was chopped up, and he did not get rewarded for his good driving. Maybe he'll get rewarded now because he's in a position equal to the people he's close to, so he could move up with a great drive here.
Good exit 9 to 10. 128.5 in the last run, so the sled is slower on the ice again.
Ooh, skid there. He was only 100 down. Perfect, though, through the graveyard of the up into 14.
At 132.8 last time down. He's still 200s back. 132.9. That should be enough. Oh, no. Bertazzo had 133. 300s back.
So Bertazzo, great drive. But I tell you, Van Kalker, he had good drives both runs. So that could be runners because he had a little mistake at the start, though. I thought that they lost a lot of little speed. That 300s for sure at the start. Because they had a little issue getting in and caused a little bit of a, look at the runners come up. Now watch the way they get in the sled. Causes them to a little bit of a motion left to right. This is where he lost his position, is right here. Watch the sled waver a little bit, right out of the drive lines. Look at that coming. He almost hit the wall, and that's not what you want to do.
Edwin van Kalker in second place. Simone Bertazzo, our race leader. 5 of our 20 sleds down. Nick Cunningham of the USA next on the ice in 15th place after the first of 2 heats here at the Sochi Sliding Center. 26-year-old originally from Monterey, California, a bull rider through college. Now there's an interesting way into the sport. Surfing, bull riding, bobsleighing.
Good push teams here.
Adam Clark, Andres Dreibel, and Chris Vogt are the crew of this US sled. Let's see what they've got.
483, that's a great start. 50.7. The load into the sled, it's even more impressive. Now this young pilot, Nick Cunningham, hasn't got the tricks of the trade yet for driving these big 4-man sleds, but he's had a great season. He's been unlogged his time on all the tracks, and with that type of start time, Nick Cunningham's a guy you can expect to hear more from in the future, because when you could start a sled like that, you got a chance to have the best times at the bottom.
It's the last run of his rookie season, and like a number of others, he has really impressed this year. 127.2 is good speed.
Moving back a little bit, he drove the Bodine sleds in North America. He's driving Latvian sleds here in Europe. This is his last run of the season. Down to 1600s.
He had 132 kilometers an hour, 132.7. This is good. Should just keep him in the lead. Yeah.
56.59. He's faster in the second run than the first run.
Yes, he is.
Much better drive down the track for American Nick Cunningham right there.
Well, that's great news for Cunningham. Tidied up a couple of the errors that crept in lower down on the track. He was disappointed after the first heat. He'll be much happy with that.
4:83 start time, though. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I can't say enough. Then the driving down the track, this is going to come.
We had a double tap there on the exit of
In the
5
6.
last run, and he kept it clean.
Watch how high he climbs here in 6. Not bad.
That's a real sudden turn.
Yeah, and watch the runner tips here as he comes over and tries to get on 7. Those are pretty good lines, Nick.
Yeah. Cunningham looking forward to going rodeoing during the summer. Rico Peter of Switzerland, late change to the crew. Patrick Blörslinger was at 3. He's being replaced by Fabio Badrown, and Fabio making his first World Cup start. Now that is tough. It's one thing to do it on the back handles as the brakeman when you jump in last, but doing it from 2 or 3, he's got to be nervy.
494 start in the first run. The key's going to be how they load. Now, they aren't familiar with loading with each other, so this could affect their start speed. Should be, he wants to get to 50 flat. So 495, 496 you would expect there with this replacement from one heat to the next. Let's see how they do.
Wow, that was a good load.
491, it's even better.
Wow,
50 flat, he got the magic number. Hey, good guy coming off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great that you come off the bench and produce like that. Faster start, faster speed. He had a rough first run. He was all over right here. Curve 5 coming up. Big mistake he made right there, and same.
Yeah.
Skidding. 6, look at the big pressure he had. The back end of the sled was adrift as he went into 6. A lot of steering. Steering's friction. Friction's not a friend of a bobsled time. Look at the oscillation there, 2 points, a little late. But he's got it down to 5. This is close. Good lines here. Uphill section of the track coming right here. He's perfect. Could be down a flat. Could be a tie here. There it is.
They're tied at the moment. Will he overhaul Cunningham at the line? 132.9, a whisker quicker than the US sled.
Tied.
No, they're still tied.
Stay in here.
Yeah, get in here. Get in this leader's box with us.
2 miles in distance. Here they are, tied to the 100th of a second. We're going to have 8 young men in that winner's box now. And there's great camaraderie when they get tied and get in that winner's box. They have a lot of fun with it.
Starting to get a little busy down there.
Yeah. Good season for Rico Peter. But here's 5. He's done this 2 times in a row. Drove to the left side, into the wall, and watch the back end of the sled skidding here. Now watch him go to 6, and watch the back end skid all the way into 6 and up and around onto the roof.
Not much ice left there by the end of today.
He left a little paint up there.
Takes the ice off as well. It's all crunchy there at the top.
Here's the camaraderie in this sport.
Rico Peter joins Nick Cunningham's crew in the leaders box. Joint leaders now with 13 to go. 13th after heat 1 was Jürgen Loacker of Austria, Matti Juhart, Markus Sammer, Martin Kovics, the crew of this Austrian sled. Loacker now 38 years old. You've got to believe in perhaps his penultimate year of competition.
Gives up a lot of time to start. Had the 497 in the first run. Everybody else got faster. They should be faster also. 498. Speed 49.6. That's a half a kilometer down to the Americans.
That's over a kilometre an hour down to the Americans. They had 50.7 Cunningham's
That's right, 50.7. Good point.
Yeah, so it's not just the run.
It's the Swiss that had 50.0. Yeah, it's the entry. Mistake there at 5, but he's not the only.
Well, that's the corner 5 mistake, isn't it, that everybody's
automatic,
making? Yeah.
Automatic. Nobody can get through there clean. If anybody can drive to the lead on the bottom part of the track, Jürgen Loacker can do it. If he had a start time.
Not today, he can't. He's a quarter second back already.
Yeah.
And he's sliced some of the deficit. Clean uphill into 15. Plateau.
Coming back. He's going to run out of track, though. Down to 1400s. Huge speed. He'll have a chance. I don't think he's going to do it. No. And the Americans and the Swiss move up 1 more.
So he loses 2 spots.
Yeah. Well, Jürgen, with that start time, everybody else got better in the second run. He got 100th worse.
Yeah.
If he had a start time, this guy would be in the top 10 all day.
Yeah. Same as Patrice Vella Monaco. Can drive, no problem.
Here, curve 4. No, this down the bottom. Watch the oscillation points. Look at the helmets. Good aerodynamic efficiency there. Look at the team. Boy, they're really riding well. That sled's built very well for that team.
So last drive of the season for Jürgen Loacker. Congratulations to the Americans.
This goes on all the time. This is how close everybody is in this sport.
Thanks. Next up in 12th place, just a couple of hundredths of a second out of the top 10, Chris Spring of Canada with Jean-Luc Carrière, Cody Sorensen, Sam Giguet, a couple of French-Canadian football players on the back of the Springers team. Born in Darwin, Australia. Started his career as an Aussie slider, and the last 3 seasons for Canada. Returned from a massive accident in Altenburg a year ago.
He's had an impressive couple weeks.
Yeah.
Impressive couple weeks. He's been coming on, and he's starting to emerge. He was Canada #1 at the World Championships in 2-man. And
part of their thing is they're starting top 5, top 6 every trip, and Spring's driving is really coming on fast.
Now watch the exit of curve 5 coming up. Here it is right here. Look at the rudder tips. Does he come right at us? No, little skid. Not too bad, but his 6 wasn't too bad. He didn't get caught into 6 like some people do when they skid all the way from 5 into 6.
He was 700s up on Cunningham from the first heat, John. He's doubled that now.
Yeah, it's good start, good drive, good aerodynamic profile by these young French athletes, CFL players.
Fastest speed we've seen, quarter second up now. Can he keep accelerating away from the field behind him and maybe
this is a good run.
A run into the top 10, 133.3.
That's huge.
That's very good speed from Chris Spring.
29. Wow, that's 30 tenths faster.
Wow.
So the track, it's pretty tough to be consistent on this track. The athletes are showing that, but when the heat you want to put the good one down is the second.
Yeah.
We just saw the best heat we've seen so far. Best drive, even with that skid at curve 5.
Well, Spring and that sled in the crash in Altenburg both wrecked. He looks a bit beat up.
Yeah, he looks a little stiff. Well, the season's over, Chris. Look at the skid here. That's down in the 11, 12, 13. A little airborne.
Looking a little tender there with Jennifer Cacchetti, who took 6th place in the women's race. Next up, Steve Holcomb, the Olympic champion. And John Morgan, this is a really vital learning time for everybody, but especially for Holcomb, because in 12 months, he'll come here as the Olympic champion to defend that title with the night train.
Well, they had an unbelievable start in the first heat. 3rd best start, 484. Well, so they should go 482. But we're seeing everybody else.
Crew that won the Olympic medal: Justin Olson, Steve Langton, Kurt Tomasevich.
482, 50.8, 50.6. Not as good a speed as their teammates. Teammates were a couple hundred slower, but they had a better lead. Now, Holcomb's problem was starting right up here, curve 3. He got through that. Curve 5, he had a big skid in the first run. Let's watch the runner tips come out right here. Much better. Much better. He lost the race in the first 200 meters in the first heat. That's why he's in 11th place. He made a lot of mistakes, uncharacteristic of an Olympic champion like Steve Holcomb.
Couple of hundreds back.
He's back, yeah.
122.9, that's dreadful speed.
He's down by 10 hundredths now. He also might not have good runners on. I don't want to make any excuses for him either, but this is a much better run, and it's not fast.
10th back.
18th, he could fall back a couple places.
133, that's better down at the bottom. How close? Second spot. He gets in between Spring and Cunningham.
Wow.
Chris Spring's limping now. I think he's pulled a muscle in his leg.
Well, Team Night Train, a little perplexed. That was a good run. And Holcomb, that first run we could critique it as it was not a good run. That was a good run right there. And he's got no time at the bottom of the track. Boy, that's a question mark for the next 12 months right there.
Well, you know, everything gets ramped up now, doesn't it, John, before Sochi next February. Athlete development, driver development, equipment development. Chris Spring and Steve Holcomb are the top 2 in our race at the moment. 10 sleds still to come here at the Sankey Sliding Center, Sochi, Russia. Viessmann FIBT World Cup number 9, the last race of the season. Track is clear for 19-year-old Latvian Oskars Kibas-Manis, one of the standout young athletes that has been discovered this season. 4th fastest start in the first heat. There's your leaders, Chris Spring and his team.
Yucking it up a little bit. This kid here, though, this Latvian number 2 sled, this is some phenom here. Boy, this is a 19-year-old kid. They say he's an unbelievable athlete. He has been great starts, 485 start, 50.3, not as good as either one of the American sleds, but in the first run, again, this is a 19-year-old kid. He's been driving for like a year, and he's got these start monsters behind him, and this is a name you could hear for the next 10 years in this sport easy, because in Latvia, it's a big, bobsledding is a big sport. The market share on TV when bobsled and skeleton is on is huge. It rivals our NBA or the NFL at home, and he almost tips over there in the exit of 9, 10. But again, he's 19 years old.
Well, John, he's got no driving experience. He's only been racing a year at any level compared to decades for some of these athletes. So,
and he's showing it here. I mean, he's way off the pace here.
But he's done such a good job this season already.
8th best time.
3 spots down.
But hey, Sanders to the left. It's no problem. Sanders,
he's going to teach him
Sanders is no problem. That's okay, man. You're 19 years old. You know, I'm thinking about him winning the gold medal in 2018 in the Pyeongchang, Korea.
Ask any coach. They'll want an athlete that they can teach to drive.
And watch the exit era. This is what, you know, rookie mistakes. I mean, he almost
hauled it off there for safety.
There was
really
a lot of fear. Then he sets him up for here. This is that graveyard of time I talk about. You can't do this. It's going uphill. You're going uphill skidding like that? No chance.
14 to 15, 9 to 10, exit 5. He's beating himself up about it. He's got plenty of time to learn. 9th place for the first of 3 German sleds in the competition. Manuel Mahata with Alex Mann, Jan Speer, Christian Poser. 42 hundredths off the lead. And no chance for Mahata to medal here. 28-year-old soldier.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being good, he had about a 3 in the first heat for driving down this track, which we were shocked. We thought these 4-mans were going to be coming right down the middle. They are not. There is challenge for every athlete coming down here. Consistency is something that's real hard to do so far in this track.
Well, maybe the theme song for this track ought to be hard to handle, because boy, in a 4-man, it really is.
Yeah. Unlike most tracks, 491, couple hundredths better. Start speed, 50.3, excellent considering that start. Those guys got in the sled, got down. Look at the aerodynamic profile of this team behind Mahata. Now, Mahata comes down here clean, because even with all the mistakes he made, he still had great speed in the bottom.
He was a 10th up at the start over Chris Spring. That's down to 300ths of a second. He'll be in the red next time we see the clocks. 400ths back.
Tap there. Another tips, aerodynamic pro. Look at the heads.
Spring had 129. He's not even got the speed to challenge. The gap will open up another 10th. Hits the wall, 12 and 13.
Uphill, skid. That little jump. Now watch the finish curve. I don't think he's going to do it.
He'll be down to 3rd place, maybe.
No, he's going to keep 2nd. 4th best time of the run.
Wow.
Boy, what a Chris Spring. Boy, those guys rocket into the top 10.
Yes, it is. Chris Spring leads with 8 to go.
Remember, their teammate Jennifer Cicchetti in the women's bob race went from 14th to 7th.
Yeah, she went 12 to 6.
12 to 6.
Huge jump up the order.
Manny.
Walk away from that one.
Jan Speer.
Yeah. What can you do?
Alex Mann.
Thank you.
Start. You know, they had great low. So they had a great start speed for their low. Now watch. Their time was 491, and then they had 50.3 speed. Now watch them get in, get down. Now watch the arms come up here. Watch the efficiency. Down. That's how to do it. That's why they had good start speed, but his FES Berlin sled was not fast on this track today. Let's look at the replay.
Watching the replay, shrugs it off. Chris Spring and his crew still lead as we have 8 to go. Next up is Bert Hefty of Switzerland, Alex Baumann, Thomas Lamparter, Jörg Egger. First time win in the 4-man as a driver came earlier in the season for Hefty. Been a good year in 2 and 4-man for the Swiss driver.
He won the 2-man event yesterday, but there's a thing in bobsledding called the Olympic jinx. Since the World Cups have been prominent in the sport since 1988 in Calgary, no athlete but one has won the Olympic test and then went on to win the Olympic gold medal. That was Harold Schodai of Germany in 1993. He won the Olympic test in Lillehammer, went on to win the gold medal the next year in the 4-man. No one else has done it. In fact, the athletes here on this race, a lot of the athletes say this is the race that you don't want to win. But
kind of hard to throw.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to throw.
It goes against every fibre of their being. Massive skid from 5 to 6.
Massive skid.
Horrendous.
Unbelievable. I can't believe he's got red
either.
numbers. Got it too. He's got to have red numbers coming up here. Look at this, another
And again,
one too.
throws the sled sideways down the straightaway. 14 to 15 is uncomfortable as well. And again, another huge tail end skid. Second place, will he even have that at the line? Still got great speed.
The track just said to our friend Beat Hefty, hey, you won the 2-man event, but unless you drive better in the 4-man, you got no shot, because that was horrendous.
Well, look where the front axle is, and that little articulation in the cowl, all the weight is behind the front axle.
Yeah,
it just swings away like a pendulum.
That was... If you want an instructional video, don't watch this. This is how not to do it all the way down the track. That Olympic jinx, as soon as I stood looking at it, how can you make a 4-man skid that far, that long?
You know what? It makes Steve Holcomb's run look quite tidy.
Yeah, look at this. This is, again, another spot, skidding. You don't see this from 4-man bobsleds on any other track. This is airborne into 14. Wow.
He dropped 2 spots there, back behind Chris Spring, the leader, and Manuel Mahata.
First of 3 Russian sleds.
A lot of noise, the Russians in 7th place after the first heat. Dmitry Abramovich, Alexei Pushkarev, Dmitry Stepushkin, and Alexei Voyevoda, the man mountain on the back handles. And I tell you, the girls are so excited when Voyevoda comes by. He's such a hero here.
Speed. This is the junior world champion from 2007. He's toiled behind Zubkov the last few years. Back injury in 2011-12. We didn't see him on the circuit. Came back out this year on the Europa Cup, qualified. He's in this position. I think a good run here, and he could move up. I really think he started so late in the field, he didn't have good ice to work with. He comes down here clean. I think he could move up and challenge.
The gap's gone from 0.2 to 0.15. And every sled that comes now has a bigger advantage over Chris Spring. It's down to a 10th. 126.5. Spring was 129.
Yeah, that's a rough transition there. That's going to cost him a couple more hundreds.
And a huge skid.
Boy, this is coming right down to the 100th. He's perfect in the graveyard section there.
133.7 for Spring. What's the Russian got? Not enough.
Not enough.
No, it's going to go into the red and stay in the red. Spring has the lead again.
Wow, I can't believe it. Look at these guys. Look at Pierre Lueders. Former Canadian who's now coaching the Russians. Hasn't been a great weekend for Russia so far. This Russian sled didn't deliver. They're going to have 3 Russian sleds in the top 10, but Abramovich was hoping to move up. And look at here. This is a rough transition there. Look at all the energy left to right, and then the skid into the takeout of the curve, and then he doesn't catch up. He's still skidding on the exit here all the way down through our camera angle here. Look at the runner tips. He's still playing to get control. Then he goes airborne here, probably. No, got on there real early, but not a good run for Abramovich.
No, doesn't look thrilled with that one, does he? So, we're on the fringes of the top half dozen now. John Jackson of Great Britain in 6th place. Stu Benson, Bruce Tasker, Joel Fearon. A 10 to 100 meter track and field athlete behind you gives you plenty of speed at the start. You can see all the rest of the British team, men and women, watching them. Now for Jackson.
Great energy coming off the blocks, and Martin, we have to say these athletes have really performed at a high level this year. The first 50 meters, their start times have been. We just lost our clocks.
Well, the crew came together last year for the first time.
Well, we could see clocks here, so we'll give you a little line down.
4:85 getaway, 4th fastest in the competition. 50.5 and 75 kilometers an hour.
Only a bad drive can erase him from being the winner.
Ooh, skid 5 to 6.
Wasn't that bad of a skid though. He didn't tap. Big lead up to the top. Great start, 45, 2,500s lead. John Jackson's had a great season.
He has. He started out with top 6, top 5 finishes. Mid-season slump. He really needs to get that form back.
That's a good line.
2,800s up on Chris Spring from the first heat.
Hit that mark. This is a good run for John Jackson.
Should stay in front.
This is one of the better runs we've seen since Chris Springs, right
Good
here.
speed, and he will take the lead.
56.30. John Jackson just delivered the payload there.
Yes, he did. 100 slower, faster rather than his first heat. That's exactly what he needed. Not losing a spot.
These guys will be happy with this. This is for funding. This is the top 5-6 for funding from the Olympic Committee, right?
Yeah.
Good result. Great Britain is really of any team that's improved. Here we are up in the graveyard section, the uphill. Perfect lines. Look at him sneaking over to get on the curve. And after this curve here, you come through this curve. Watch it. And it's like a big jump. Look at him. Perfect line under the take-on. Look at the air slide go airborne. That's natural. There's a jump there. Everybody talks about it. You go airborne. John Jackson
leads from Chris Spring and Dmitry Abramovich, the Royal Marine Commando, working the crowd here in Sochi. 5 sleds to go. This is junior world champion Francesco Friedrich with his crew. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me John Morgan, and John using Max Arndt's team, who the first time they pushed with Friedrich had to race to get into the sled. He starts so hard off that front handle.
Yeah, this athlete in the front seat is the youngest person ever to win a world championship title. He did that 2 weeks ago in St. Moritz, Switzerland. And they say he's the 4th best pusher on the whole German team, 21 years old. So here's another name that you're going to see a lot of. Didn't have a very good two-man event here in Sochi, but of course he's only 21 years old. He's just starting to feel out all these tracks. And this is a rough ride. 100th
of a second in it. This could be very close. 129.4. The Brits had 128.4.
And he's still holding on to a slim lead. Big mistakes.
Oh,
skid.
Big skid.
He's going to need to be perfect in uphill. Ooh, not bad. Still got green numbers.
Back in the red.
He's lost it.
Speed 133.5 for the Brits, 132.5. Friedrich is going down. This is a big scout for John Jackson of Great Britain. They move up a spot.
Look at Long, but he had mistakes. Jackson was clean all the way down the track. This young German pilot, Friedrich, had problems all the way down the track.
It's going to be another top 6 finish for Francesco Friedrich in his rookie season, the junior 2- and 4-man world champion, the senior 2-man world champion.
Okay, you're going to see a lot of him, but here's the first of many mistakes. Watch the sled flop. Now as he comes over in the transition here, watch him come down here in the first oscillation point. Watch him come down here hard. Watch the way the head snap. He goes way down to it. Look at the way look at the energy there in that point. That was a lot of time right there. Then he's late. Then he comes over here, hits the wall here. Not a lot of good energy there. Look at Christoph Langen, the coach. Does he wear the run on his forehead or what?
Yeah. Well, you know, Langen's great career. Friedrich could easily have that kind of career for German bobsledding. Look at him. So effortless for him. Such a powerhouse. Well, Alexander Kazyanov of Russia, silver medal and bronze medal in 4-man already this season. Can he get into the medals here in Russia? 2300ths off the lead, 900ths away from a medal in the first heat.
491 start, which was great. He doesn't get those starts. He should be 490.
Listen to the crowd cheering him on. That's got to be worth. There you go.
Huge. Whoa, that's way better than he did in the first run.
That was crowd power.
And he started a little later. I say this athlete here with a good run will win a medal. I really think that start right there, when you improve yourself by 800ths like he just did, and he's on a track which is really his home track. He's been down more than anybody else but his teammate Zubkov. He's won medals before. He's been in this position before, but he's lost a little time back. This is perplexing.
126. The Brits had 128.
Wow, but he's got it back online. Stop the bleeding to 1500ths.
This is going to give him perhaps a chance at a medal. Great 14 to 15 transition.
Perfect. 16. He's opening up a lead now. Kazyanov could put himself in a position to win a medal for Russia. Great run.
That is a good run. The Brits will leave the leader's box happy with a guaranteed top 5 finish.
Kazyanov just delivered the goods. His team, he should turn around and give his team some high fives. That was an unbelievable start. From their 491 to a 484, that is turning it on. That's why I'm sure somebody said, guys, it's time to put up or shut up, and they just put it up.
Well, there's a few hundred people up at the top cheering them on to this start, John.
But the big guy in the back, this team hasn't been together. There's one guy on this team that hasn't been there for a while. Look at the speed after the first curve. Kazyanov's team, all-stars really coming in here. in and down with perfect start speed, and that's why he's the leader at the bottom, of course, with a good drive down the track, too. Look at the entry. There he is.
There he is, Alexander Kasyanov and his crew. 3 sleds to go. They look jubilant there in the leader's box.
They're happy to be in 4th position. There's a lot of pressure on the Russians.
Kasyanov now is going to be giving this guy the evil eye. Oskars Melbardis with Daman Striskins, Arvis Vilkasta and Intars Dambestead. A 4:81 track start record in the first heat. Are they going to bust that?
They could do it. In, down, no mistakes. Conservative. 478. You don't know how big these 4 guys are. And for them to be that cohesive, the speed was a good entry speed. Wow, it just blows me away that these guys, 50.9 speed. Now, his problem is he can't drive. There's his first mistake, big skid. That's going to be real problem for his time coming up. That was a mistake out of curve 5. It's down to 16. He can't skid in this straightaway coming up. Watch this long straightaway coming up here. Those are good oscillations. Speed's decent.
2 kilometers an hour quicker than the Russians who lead.
That's good there. Now the uphill section, his last albatross right there, perfect.
He's going to hang on. He's going to be in the medals. Oh, little skid on the exit, bumps the wall. 1500s will be enough, surely, unless he plummets in speed. He's got enough to take the lead at the line.
Medal for Latvia. The Russians look on. Wow. They won that. Look at these Latvians. This small nation is shocking that these athletes from this nation can show up and perform like this. I mean, this is a small Baltic nation that produces athletes. They're skeleton athletes, the best in the world. They call him Superman. Wow. The lines are out of curve 5. This was his major mistake. Look at the runner tips. He's still trying to get control going into 6. This causes a lot of pressure in 6. This is out of 14. Wow. Fun to watch those 4 big guys.
At the bottom, but the Latvians will be pleased. His 2nd bronze medal of the season after underperforming with 9th in the World Championships.
The Latvians would like nothing better than beat Russians in Russia.
If somehow Melbardis sees Zubkov drop behind him, imagine how they're going to feel. This is Alexander Zubkov, Russia's big hope for gold on this track.
A lot of pressure on this dude right here.
Alexei Negadalo, Dmitry Chulenkov and Maxim Makrusov behind the ex-loser, 38-year-old soldier Alexander Zubkov.
The Russians don't have a gold medal here in the first 4 events. This guy has been ordered for the gold, and I think he's got a chance to do it. If he delivers like he did in the first heat with his drive, I think he's going to catch Florschutz because he's got a much better start than Florschutz. And Florschutz went first. All Zubkov's got to do is be clean. Right here, out of 5. Coming up, here's 4.
And he's got to hold off Melbardis. He's in the red. Melbardis' start really helped him.
That's good,
skid
though.
Out of 5.
That wasn't that bad out of 5 compared to Melbardis.
Doesn't have to be bad. There was only 700s between them.
Down, yeah. See, he had a better exit of 5 than Melbardis. That's why it's down at 0. Here comes big speed, 127.6.
Kilometer an hour slower than the Latvians.
Ooh, this is... Ooh,
behind the
tips.
cliff, hits the wall in 12 and 13, up to 15. Got to be perfect here, skid from 15 to 16.
Whoa.
He's going to go behind. He has not got the speed of the Latvians that were 134. He's going to drop to second place.
Of the run.
He's 3rd. No, tied for 2nd with Kasyanov.
2 Russians are going to be, but still
a grin.
But he still likes that because there's 2 Russians in the podium. That probably saves his job, but they are not first in the
the moment.
Yes. I'm a little shocked too. I'm a little shocked. And I still think Kasyanov, I still think Melbardis got a chance to win the race.
I got goosebumps.
This is not what he wanted. Look,
not what he wanted. He has a wry smile as well, but...
Watch the rudder tips here. Watch the rudder tips. He's trying to get control. Stayed away from the wall. Bang.
Trying to straighten it up and get the
Watch
flat
here,
tap.
too. This is with the real skid.
Yeah.
That's in the 70, 80 mile an hour part of the track.
That's the killer that took the lead away from him. Oskars Melbardis leads with 1 sled to go. Are we going to get a freakish upset here? Russians tied for 2nd. Zubkov, a wry smile. He knows how to win, and he knows you can't always do it. What about our race leader, Thomas Florschutz, the first man out of the shed, the last man out of the shed, with Ronnie Lissner, Andy Bredau, and Thomas Blaszek.
Not a very good start in the first run. 11th best start, 491. They should get into the 80s. 49, okay, 56.6. or 50.5, excuse me. That's good. Not as good as Mel Bardis, half a kilometer down to Mel Bardis, and he's already behind Mel Bardis. But this guy probably had the best drive down the track of anybody we saw.
Mel Bardis was 1400s back in the first heat, and it is now a 500th deficit.
That's the start. He could drive himself back in. If he has the same lines he did in the first run, 500s to 400s. This was the best driver in the first run.
129, the Latvian's 128.5. He's got better speed. Here we go.
This is going right to the 100. Perfect line he's going to need.
To be perfect.
Uphill section, perfect. Exit here, look at the runners.
Still 400ths of a second.
Down to
300ths of a second.
Right
and he's
to the
133. 134. He's going to win it by 100th of a second. Oh no! Mel Bardis takes gold. For the first time in his life, Oskar Mel Bardis wins a four-man World Cup race. Oh my goodness, did you ever? Thomas Florschutz takes the silver medal. Kazyanov and Zubkov will take the bronze. But Mel Bardis wins it. Wow, my goodness. Wow, and again, out of 15 to 16, a tiny skid. It was hundredths of a second, down to just a few inches at the line, and Florschutz goes off to offer congratulations for the first time to a brand new race winner, Oskar Mel Bardis. Wow. And Marco Hubenbecker goes over to offer his congratulations as well. It's a big family, this bobsleigh world, and it's been a while coming. Mel Bardis has been knocking on the door, and finally he has put in the run that will claim his first ever World Cup victory, his first win in a four-man. Best result this season up till now, third place in Winterberg, Germany. And he claims his first ever four-man race win. That's 2 times this season a driver's taken the first win. One was Bert Hefty, the second Oskar Mel Bardis. And they are 2 of only 4 men to win in four-man. Alexander Zubkov rather greedily hoovered up 5 gold medals. And Max Arndt the other 2 in the season, as well as the World Championships. But Arndt's not here. Nevertheless, coming of age here for Oskar Mel Bardis. That might well move him up, will move him up into 3rd in the overall standings for the season. Mel Bardis the winner then by 200ths from Florschutz, with Kazyanov and Zubkov no longer nose to tail, but tied this time in the medals. Well, a fascinating end to a fascinating race here in Sochi. Welcome back to Sochi, as you can see written there on the track at this Sankey sliding centre. Alexander Zubkov is confirmed as our World Cup champion. He takes the crystal globe as Oskars Melbardis moves up to second spot ahead of Manuel Mahata and Max Arndt, who's not here. John Jackson of Great Britain to find fifth position, his best ever in four-man World Cup season-long competition. And Stephen Holcomb of the USA rounds out the top half dozen. Well, it'll be the crystal globe for Alexander Zubkov, and he's on the podium here as well in this ninth and final Viessmann FIBT four-man bobsleigh World Cup race of the season. It's going to be a crowded podium, and the man on the top step for the first time as a driver is Oskars Melbardis. The Latvian brakeman turned driver in the last two seasons has come of age, and finally today takes that first coveted win. It's the Olympic track for 2014. Will he be the first man to shake off the jinx? Let's find out what our winners thought about it as we join John Morgan.
Down here for our flower ceremony, the Russians have just got their flowers and being presented by Ivo Feriani, president of the International Federation. Now our second place, over to Germany, to Thomas Florschutz. A lot of pageantry down here. You see the traditional Russian costumes, comes from the Cossack area, from the local mountains here. And now what a bobsled race Martin Haven and I just called. Now giving away the gold medal flowers will be to the Latvian team, whose first victory for Latvia, for Oskars Melbardis. Wow, what a way for those guys to end the season. And now we'll get over to our interviews. Hey, bronze medal for Russians.
Ladies and gentlemen, your FIBT winner.
They think it's a tough day here, but they still have a bronze medal on their brand new track. Mr. Castle, good piloting, good driving.
Да, хорошо проехали все.
Congratulations on your medal in Sochi. Yes, everything is very good. Now we go over to second place, Thomas Florschutz. Hey, Team Florschutz. A good weekend for you.
Gutes Wochenende. Ich denke, wir haben genau den richtigen Platz gemacht. Das letzte Mal habe ich gewonnen, vor 4 Jahren, und es ist dann Platz 2 gewonnen bei Olympia. Und ich hoffe, diesmal ist das Omen vielleicht auf meiner Seite, dass der Sieger nicht Olympiasieger wird.
Yeah, well, he's very happy for what's happened here for the weekend, and you know, silver medal in two-man. It sets them all very well for the Olympic Games next year. Wow. Team Melbardis. Wow. Were you surprised? I mean, to win a gold medal?
Yeah, this week was amazing for us, and I'm very proud of Latvian nation. We are a very small nation, and we stay behind these big Germans and Russians, so we are happy. I'm very proud of my guys. You're doing a great job. This season. We are happy. Thanks.
Congratulations. What a performance, Latvia.
Congratulations indeed to Oskars Melbardis and his team. And Thomas Florschutz in German there pointing out that the winner of the pre-Olympic race has never won the Olympic gold medal in years. Well, that is your four-team podium here. I'd just like to say thank you, spasiba, to John Morgan and to everybody else who's joined me in the booth this season to make the year so knowledgeable and enjoyable. To all the members of the FIBT TV crews in North America, in Europe and here in Russia. And most of all to you for being with us. Until next season, I'm Martin Hayden saying goodbye from Sochi. Do svidaniya. We'll see you next year.